Let's jump into the planning our garden. There's a lot for us to get through. Anyone who thinks gardening begins in spring and ends in fall is missing the best part of the whole year, because gardening begins really in January with your dreams. I used to begin in fall, and begin in spring and end in fall. That's what I knew, and that's where I started. And over the course of the years, it's my planting season was from June to probably September. And then as for like 2-3 years, and then every year it would bump out in the spring and bump out in the fall. And now look at us, we're in January and we're starting to plan and think about our gardening. So if you've never thought about gardening at this point in your life in January, that's okay. We're just going to begin to think about all the things we can do before we actually start planting. That's where we're at today. So dreaming, we're going to talk about dreaming. We're going to talk about planning. We're going to talk about the supplies and equipment and getting yourself organized. Because like with any project, the better prepared you are, the more success you will have. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I keep using my mouse. So let's talk about dreaming. This is the time really to talk about or think about, what do you want to plant, maybe for the first time, or what do you want to plant again? What do you want to eat? What is it that, because sometimes we just want to plant something just to plant something, but I've learned over the years, I really want to plant this because I like to eat it. That tastes really good. And I didn't make that connection like literally really till a couple of years. I would plant stuff just because that's what people planted. But then I realized I don't really like to eat that. Why am I planting that? I just give it all away when I grow it. So why don't I plant something that I like? Those are just some thoughts. And then another question might be, what is it that you want to learn to grow? Because maybe you've never planted it before. So like you might say, this year, I really want to learn how to plant beets. I've never grown them. I just put a picture of beets there. What do they look like? What kind of space do they take? So you might want to think about, do I want to try something new this year? So start thinking right now. So start thinking about, what is it that you want to plant, and write it down. We are all aging every day. We have a lot of details in our heads for everything. So write it down. What is it that I want to grow this year? What is it that I want to try, or what I want to do again? You can even draw plans of your beds, of your garden space, and where you might put these plants. I do this every year. It's actually just a piece of paper with pictures of my garden beds, and I have a lot of beds. For me, this is really important because I have so much that I'm trying to get it out of there it is. So if you look really closely, you'll see little squares, and it's all in pencil because I want to change it out. So I have asparagus, I have garlic, I have yellow zucchini, golden zucchini. I'm actually putting a square where my bed is. And if there's only one item in there, that means that whole bed is going to be planted with those pieces. You might just have one big garden bed, and you have tomatoes, chili, onions, beets, several different things in one bed. So whatever it is, I actually draw this every year because I plant about 30 different kinds of things, and I move things around. So I would just recommend you actually draw, where are these beds going to be? Are they behind my house? Are they, like, you might have several all over the place. Make sure you put them down so you remember all the places. If you've never grown a plant or don't know it well, this is the time to research that plant. You might want to ask, okay, is this a cold or warm weather plant? Which is going to give you an indication of when it will do well in our environment. There's a lot more learning in each one of these pieces, but I'm just going to throw these out. For example, let's go back to beets. If you've never grown beets, let's talk about, okay, how do they grow? Are they warm or cold? How large can they get? Do I just plant one beet, or do I need like 10 beets, or shall I do 50 beets? You begin thinking about one plant versus 50. How much space is that going to take? How many seeds do I need? So you're starting to get really more meticulous about what it is that you might want to. You're just putting ideas down right now. You haven't figured it all out, but you're trying to think about, maybe I only have this much space, so I can maybe only do, this much. So some of the planning tools you'll need annually, you will always need these. Both a 2021 journal, that's the one thing I tell you every time, you need a journal. And when I say a journal, I'm just talking about a notebook. All I do is get a plain notebook. I don't get a fancy garden journal. These are one I buy a whole bunch at beginning of school year for $1. If you look at this one, it started out being a 2018 garden notes, 2019, 2020, and I still had room. So I have 2021, so I'm not going to use that one. And I have little tabs in here that shows me what year. So I have one notebook that's just dedicated to what's happening in my garden, and we'll talk about what I put in there. A garden calendar. I already have 3 calendars for 2020 or 2 calendars for 2021. Do I really need another one? If you really want to learn and pay more attention to your growing, I would say yes, you need a dedicated calendar for just your garden. I have a work calendar that serves as my work and personal stuff, but adding my garden stuff to that is just too much. So I always buy, and you don't have to buy this kind, but we got introduced to another class I took to something called a biodynamic calendar. I couldn't find my 2020. That's how unorganized I am right now. But this is from 2017. They put one out every year. And the cool thing about this is biodynamics is another whole nother level of learning, but it uses the sun, the astrology symbols, the moon, the solar system. It's a whole new method or different kind of method to growing food that some people follow. But so so there's a lot of articles in here about that. But if you look at the calendar itself, they actually tell you like days based on the system when you should plant root vegetables, when you should plant leaf vegetables, when you should plant flowers, when you shouldn't plant anything at all, because the energy in the whole universe is not supporting that effort. It's very interesting. So I use these just to document when I plant something. So let's say tomorrow I plan to start some seeds. I'm going to start some lettuce seeds. So I'll actually put in here if this was the 2021 calendar, which I don't have yet, I would probably put in February or January 17th is tomorrow, 18th, started lettuce seeds. And I would put what kind of lettuce? Red romaine lettuce seeds. I would actually just put that in there because I need to pay attention how old those lettuce plants are when I start a new batch, or I need to remember I planted lettuce seeds last year and that was a good time. When was that last year that I did that? So I can go back to my last year's calendar and look at it. So beets, for example, beets or carrots, you can plant a huge bed of them, but I can't remember when I did that last year. Oh, wait, I have a little calendar that reminded me when I seeded my beets. So I'll use my calendar on the exact date to tell me when I did those. So how do you use the calendar and journal? You use them as a reference point for what you did, because as I said, they serve as your memory. Whatever you do this month in January, you're not going to remember next January what you did. You remember what you did last January. Oh my gosh, no. And there's so many things that we do in gardening. So this is your memory tool, but it only works if you use them. If you don't document them, then it's not going to work. So how else can we use them? So both my journal and my calendar, I explained to you briefly how I use my calendar. I put my seeding dates in there. I tell you, like, I also might put like the date I transplanted something. Like my tomatoes are finally ready to go out into the garden. So I'm going to put that date, March or May or June, whatever that date is. I transplanted my tomatoes that date. On that date, I'll put that in the calendar. And then I might put in my garden journal, I planted 36 Rapuerco tomatoes. Every year I need to at least do 36 transplants because I need at least 36 in that one bed. That's how many I really grow. So I'll put that in here because every year when I'm starting tomatoes, it's like, how many do I need? I forget every year. So I just write it in my journal. The last date of the last frost, I'll start keeping track of the temperatures and just write them down in either my journal or calendar. The dates that it snowed or rained. For me, it's helpful to remember like shoot, man, it's getting drier and drier. I don't need to document that to know that. But it's just helpful to remember why things are happening later on in the year because of your conditions. I put down when I ordered seeds. If I need seeds for something, when did I order them? I might even put down when did I get them. And then in that journal, I'll put down where did I order them from? Because I really like those seeds, or I can't find those seeds. I can't remember where I got them. You have a note of where you ordered them from or where you got them from. How much I paid for supplies and which vendor I purchased them from. I know a lot of us go to Home Depot or Cal Ranch, which is right there. But when you start looking for unique particular items, you might start looking at particular vendors that only sell this. So you need to remember where it was that I got them. So this is my notes from July of 2018. I'll show you just a few notes I have in my journal. July 6th. No, that's August. July 7th. I harvested Tsuki hardneck garlic. So in July, I harvested Tsuki hardneck garlic. On the 9th of July, I planted raspberry bushes. On the 10th and the 12th of July, HTPI youth were at my garden. They cleaned our corrals in the coop. I lined my gated fence with shade cloth. We transplanted our irises. We cleaned hardneck garlic. We seeded squash plants. We seeded beets and carrots. And we're still harvesting. We're just now started harvesting a few cherry tomatoes. That's my entry. So I can begin to plan, or it's like, when was it that we planted? You know, all those kinds of things. I even have copies of all my receipts from things I purchased in 2018. So all my garden related stuff. That way I remember, how much did that cost? You know, I know I just bought this and those kinds of things. Where did I get it from? So you can be as organized or disorganized as you want. We all know that. But that's how you would use a garden journal. So, and a calendar. So let's jump to seeds. So part of what you're going to be doing this right now, January, is also looking at your seed stock. If you're going to be starting stuff by seed, maybe you haven't gotten there. Maybe you're just thinking about transplants. I can't even think about seeds right now, but that's okay. Wherever you are, if you are thinking about wanting to learn how to start seeds or learn how to grow plants from the seed and not just a transplant, then we need to start thinking right now about your seeds. So what do I have? What seeds do I have right now? What do I need? What do I not have? And then where do I get these seeds? You know, those are the three big questions I think that we have. So when I first started growing, I didn't even think about seed. Hopi plants we did because we have our seed stock. But when we're talking about vegetable plants, I started with tomatoes and chili. Tomatoes, I don't know what kind of tomatoes they were. I didn't know enough. Chili, I knew I wanted to grow jalapenos. I knew that much. So I went to probably Walmart and got transplants because that was what I knew at the time. And they worked. I got chilies and I got tomatoes. And that's where I started. 25 years later now, I know I want a particular kind of tomato. I grew about 3 or 4 varieties. I started from seed. I grew about 4 or 5 different kinds of chilies. You know, I'm like, it's gotten more complicated. But what happens is now I'm at a point where I want to start growing plants from seed. So I had to start collecting seeds that I didn't have when I first started. So I went to seed catalogs, and I have several listed here. This is not all of them. And I'm now on the mailing list of seed catalogs. Baker Creek is a great seed catalog, or great company that sells only heirloom seeds. Heirlooms are seeds that get passed down through families, and they're open pollinated, meaning nature just pollinates them. So they're just like your average great wild seed that are collected. So Baker Creek, I think you have to purchase their catalog. It needs to be free, but they have a great options. And this is last year's catalog. The new one is out for the people in Arizona. If you go to Sprouts, they have it on the rack. You can buy it at the rack in Sprouts. It's a really beautiful catalog. This is a great place to learn about some of the plants. They'll tell you, kind of a little bit more about the plant themselves. It's a great place to do research. The some of the other seed catalogs I have or use are something called R.H. Shumway. It's called R.H. Shumway, and it's also another seed company. It looks like this. They do hand-drawn pictures. They're really kind of cool the way they look. So I'm on their seed list now. I just get them in the mail. So that's another great company. If you just look up Baker Creek, do a search for Baker's Creek, you can put an online option for you to get the catalog. And then most of us in Arizona, at least from tribal groups, because we've been doing a lot of education, is from Native Seed Search. That's their website right there, nativeseeds.org. They send seeds all over the country if you wanted some seeds from here, but they are designed to support local heirloom seeds from the Southwest. And we all know that American Indians can get $15 worth of free seeds from them annually. So if you're not a member, you can become a member for free, and then you place an order and they mail it to you. So these are some great places to start. And then there's a bunch more that would be great. I put in here, since then, I've started to save my own seeds. We would all like for everybody to begin to learn how to save seeds. That way we have a local seed stock that we can begin sharing. So I started about 10 years ago, maybe, slowly. And started learning how to save seeds. It's a whole nother level of learning. But we have a great, now I have some great stock that we can begin doing. I got watermelons, zucchini, carrots, summer squash, some chili. I also put in here just seeds from friends. It's always good to try your neighbors' seeds because they've grown in your area. Just always document where you got your seed from. If like Troy gave me some seeds, I always put it in a little envelope and I'll put down the year if they're from this year, and I'll put Troy Hanani's garden or whatever field. That way I remember where they're from and I give him credit, and it's just part of knowing that you're part of a big community. I just saw a Facebook post said, let's do a seed exchange. Let's put together a seed exchange, and it sounds like a great idea, and I wait for somebody to organize it so I can jump in. So those are things that we can do to begin to, but if you don't have the seeds now, where am I going to get them? That's the biggest thing now. Maybe I'm going to order a set from Baker Creek and Native Seeds because they're free for us for native seeds, and then get some from Baker Creek. So just think about, what am I going to grow? And then where am I going to get the seed? We're going to talk about other classes about how to start seeds and everything a little later. So just right now about where to get your seed. The other things you can be doing right now is check your garden site. Look for repairs or replacements. You need to look at your fencing. Is my fencing still holding up? Or maybe I didn't finish my fencing. My garden fence door broke. There was a metal frame that was covered with chicken wire, and the hinge broke, and now it's like sitting like this, and there's a big old gap where rabbits can go in easily. So I need to replace my fence door, gated door. Hoses, maybe I water just by hose, and this one's been kinked forever, and I got to get a new one. How much is that going to cost? How many feet do I need? If you have drip line installed, do I need to replace that drip line? Let me go check it. How are my connections? Do I have shade cloth that's up on my fence? Just anything and everything. What do I need to go and look what needs to be replaced right now? Those are things you can do right now without waiting. Go out there and check them out. Check your soil amendment stash. Like mulch. Do I have enough mulch? Do I have enough soil secrets? Do I have enough aged manure? Those are things that you might not know what we're talking about right now. Really, but that's okay. We're going to get to some of these classes. Aged manure, I think you might know that one. We want old manure, at least 6 months old. Do I have enough? Because we're going to add that to the garden to start giving it some nutrients. But definitely, how's my mulch pile? Do I need more straw? Do I need more pine needles? Am I going to buy? Soil Secrets is a purchased man-made amendment, or other purchased man-made amendments. Do I have enough? Do I need more? So start looking at your piles. What else can we be doing now? we're going to water and mulch our gardens. This should be happening already every month because we haven't had hardly any rain and snow. We're going to talk a lot, and some of the people have already taken the classes, we talk a lot about building soil. And Kim, you mentioned that earlier. You said we got to work the soil. You know, we got to soften it up. We got to work it. That's exactly what you have to do with gardening. You don't have to do that so much with growing Hopi crops. Those seeds and plants are so resilient, but the other vegetables, plants require a lot more care and attention, and building soil is part of that. So building soil requires moisture, requires water. So because it hasn't snowed or rained, you should be at least watering your garden, even though there's nothing in there, at least once a month. Deep watering. All the critters and life in the soil need that moisture for them to continue to build it. And so if you're not doing it now, maybe you haven't been doing it now, you should go out and water your garden, even though there's nothing growing. You know, what you're doing is you're feeding that and building that soil fertility. 3 years ago, I can't remember now, it was at least 2 or 3, we had some really good snow. I didn't have to water once because we had enough snow. It snowed and rained enough that the earth was fine. But last year and this year, I've had to water my gardens at least once a month. And your trees, if you have fruit trees, water them. They're dormant, but they still need that water. This is when they can, especially if they're young, this is when they can actually die because it's so dry. And then always ensure there's plenty of mulch. Mulch is the blanket that covers your garden bed. It keeps that moisture in the soil. So adding straw, cardboard, leaves are great, but they blow away too fast. Pine needles, zipu, beans or corn, if you can actually crunch that up a little bit. Anything to keep your garden bed covered will keep that moisture in there and allow that life to keep eating and breaking everything down. That's what we want. We want them to break all that stuff down because they're breaking it down, putting it back into the earth, and then that soil is rebuilding. So this is really what you're doing all the winter months, is watering and mulching, or maybe not watering every day, but once a month, depending on how much or little your rain or snow we get. Right now, you should be watering it. And deep watering it. If you have a drip line, it's great because that deep waters, but if you don't, that means going out there and finding a way to make sure that water stays on your garden. When you use a hose, you know, when it's so dry, it just rolls off. So finding ways to keep that water there. Maybe you get a couple old buckets that have, and put holes in them and fill them so the water slowly seeps. I mean, find different ways to help your water stay in that garden and get deep. I think we're almost done here. A garden needs a gardener. You can't expect to put in a garden and let it fend for itself. Even in the winter months, this is the harvest time. This is when everybody shows up and wants to be a gardener, right? Because everything is right. But in between everything, you need to be out there to work and manage that. So I actually have garlic growing right now. Garlic grows, you put it in the fall and it grows over the winter months, and you harvest in summertime here at Hopi. So I've been managing those beds because I have a couple beds. And then I still have roots and carrots in the ground from last year. So those definitely need to be watered. I can start harvesting them now. We passed those months where we can start working with the ground and the earth. So right now is the time for us to continue to work. I think that's all I have today. Great. Okay, everyone. Have a great day. See you next time.